I was walking my dog one day, looking for insects as you do, and I came across these fantastic lackey moths. So I decided to follow the progress of this little nest and discovered that they actually were not just on oak trees like this, but also on blackthorn and even other host bushes. As they grew, they became quite active and even frenzied in their movements as they shed their skins and got bigger and bigger. And then one day they had gone. What actually happens is that they fall to the ground to pupate, but I couldn't find any pupae to show you. However, it set me wondering what other moths might be present in woodland areas, and I knew just the man to talk to, Mike Saynor of the Holt Copse Conservation Volunteers.
Hello. This evening we're in John and Pip Robinson's garden that backs onto Holt Copse, an ancient semi-natural wood in Wokingham. The wood belongs to Wokingham Town Council. Holt Copse Conservation Volunteers manage it on their behalf for people and for wildlife. Moths are an important part of the food chain in woods, and they're also important pollinators, which not everyone realises. This evening we're lucky enough to have Jon Cole with us, a local entomologist. He's brought along his mercury vapour light trap to see if we can catch any of the moths that are about at this time of the year, and then tomorrow morning we'll come back, see what we've caught, and hopefully identify the species. So John, perhaps you can tell us a bit about what you're going to do.
Okay, Mike has introduced me, and my name is Jon Cole. I'm a local entomologist, and I'm also a member of the British Entomological and Natural History Society, which is based here locally at Dinton Pastures, and also a member of the Berkshire Moth Group. What we've got here is a mercury vapour lamp, a 125 watt mercury vapour lamp. This will attract the moths because it produces some UV light. This is the bulb holding cone unit. This on the top here is a rain guard because these bulbs run very, very hot, and if rain hits it they could crack or explode. So I'll put that to one side. Here we have the plastic collar which goes on the top of the trap and holds the bulb holder. And inside we have a selection of egg trays, standard egg trays which you get from the butcher. Cut them in half and layer them inside the trap. And what that does is allow the moths to come in and sit quietly. They'll settle down into the little gaps and pockets inside the egg tray, and they'll stay quiet through the night, and hopefully they'll be quiet in the morning when we come along and have a look at the moths. And what happens is when the moths come in, they're attracted to light and they tend to fly around it, and as in doing so they'll hit these veins on the side of the cone, and then I don't know if it gives them a headache or not, but anyway, they drop down into the trap, and there they'll stay until the morning. I'm going to switch this on now, and you see it doesn't come on fully bright straight away. It has to warm up a little bit, and it'll start to get brighter and brighter and brighter until you really don't want to look at it. It's not safe to stare at it for any length of time because of the UV light as well. It can damage your retina. Right, it's early in the morning and we're here to look at the moths in the moth trap. I'm here with my trusty kit in case anything escapes, and wonderful thing about moth trapping is you don't know what you're going to find in the morning, and I can also already see some things on the white sheet which look interesting. So we'll just put this down. That's a square spot rustic. That's a common marbled carpet. Yeah, you're right, that was a brimstone moth, the yellow one. Pretty little thing. And we have another square spot rustic, rather unassuming looking moth. This is called a willow beauty. Lesser yellow underwing.
Oh, yeah.
Ah, did you see the flash then?
No.
Yeah. We have a lot of hornets in here, actually, I'm seeing there. You need to stand back whilst I move the thing out of the way. They will be docile at this time of day, so you've got to be really careful. Now, there's a yellow underwing on here. That's the large yellow underwing. One of the theories is that if they're attacked by a bird or something, they just flash their hind wings, open the forewings, flash the hind wings, and theoretically might, if they're lucky, scare the bird off. You've got some light emerald. It's called the light emerald. Right, now this is what's called a snout. Only it's called a snout because the palps at the front tend to stick forward, but sometimes they lose their palps, like this one has. There's 2 square spot rustics here and there, 2 more yellow underwings, and something called a vines rustic here. 3 large yellow underwings. Whoa, I got the whole flaming hornet's nest. They must be attracted a bit by the light, I think, by the UV, I would guess. But also they're attracted by that there's prey. Now you can see there's broken wings and things in there. So they've been eating stuff. Yeah, right. A brindled green.
Oh, brindle.
And that is, believe it or not, a September thorn. And as we're in September, it's always just worthwhile tapping local vegetation around, see if anything flies off, because they will alight on vegetation. But it was very cold last night, so seemingly they went into the trap. So we had 12 species. Not too bad, but a little disappointing perhaps for the time of year. But it was a cold night. The sort of thing we might expect at this time of year are the larger, more spectacular things like the red and blue underwings. But unfortunately none here. Maybe it was a bit too chilly last night for them to fly. But look out for those big, seemingly big grey moths, about I guess 1.5 inches in length as you're looking at them. And if they open their wings, you'll see lovely coloration underneath, red or blue. And they'll probably go until the end of the month.
Thanks again to Jon Cole. It was encouraging that we caught as many species as we did, particularly after a cold night. And I think it just shows how important woodlands are to biodiversity. We should really invite Jon back again, because you need to trap 3 or 4 times to get a comprehensive picture of the number of species in an area. Perhaps that gives us something to think about for the future.